Hi there guys, so we are counting down the days until KSI gets in the ring with Logan Paul. But first I want to talk about something. I want to talk about the Headguards and the 10-ounce gloves. Now, neither of them have ever been hit with 10-ounce gloves, and similarly, they've never been hit without a headguard on. So that will be a complete shock to the system when they get into the ring, because they cannot spar without headguards. It's just ridiculous. They could never do that, because they would just sustain too much damage during sparring. So they need to make sure that their tank is full going into the fight without any cuts, without any niggles. So having no headguards on during sparring would be detrimental to that. So ultimately, both of them are going to be experiencing something different, and they will find out on the night at the same time. Now, obviously, I don't expect this fight to catch fire straight away, but I believe within the first round, we will see a lot of how the fight will unfold, because I believe they will both come out boxing, jabbing, trying to move and try and figure each other out, getting behind their fundamental boxing skills that they have learned over the past year since the last fight between them. So they will both have polished boxing fundamentals better than they did last time. But will that serve them well in this fight? Well, I believe personally that they will both come out, as I said, a little bit tentative, a little bit wary, just to figure out what the other one has learned during their year. Now, obviously, at some stage in the fight, one punch is going to land and it is going to take an effect, because with those 10-ounce gloves, and they are Grant gloves as well, which means most of the weight is in the wrist, not on the knuckles, meaning that a lot of the sting will not be taken out of the punch. Anything that lands will take an effect. They will be seeing stars off of jabs, because with those kind of gloves, without the padding, that is going to take an effect, especially considering they are both fighting at a 200-pound limit. So the jabs are going to hurt, the hooks are going to hurt. These gloves and no headguards are going to be something completely different to what either of them have ever experienced in the boxing ring or in their whole lives. It is going to be a complete shock to the system, because neither of them have ever experienced anything like that. And the interesting thing will be who receives the big punch and who is going to deal with it better. Because if they panic and start throwing back, then they could walk on to another one, and that could mean good night. Or they could know what they're doing, tuck up, and weather the storm. Something tells me they're not going to be able to do that, because, as I said, they have never been in that position before. Now, when a fighter gets hit, obviously they've been there so many times before, but if someone has never been hit, especially that hard, then they don't know how they are going to react, and that could be a mental weakness within the fighter going in to the ring. Now, I don't believe that KSI has any fears of what Logan Paul can dish out, but I believe maybe there are some insecurities for Logan Paul, and I think that mainly is him gassing. I think he's worried that he's going to get tired going down the stretch, considering what happened last time. But this time, with those smaller gloves, does that mean that Logan Paul does not have to worry about him gassing? Well, not necessarily, because KSI, I believe, has improved a lot since the last fight. I noticed that KSI, during his pad work in the media workout, was turning his hand over and really turning his hips into those shots, something he wasn't doing last time, and something he wasn't doing in the Joe Weller fight either. So I believe that KSI has perfected that aspect of his boxing game. So I believe that is something that KSI has been working on, and he has adapted into his game. Now, most people believe that Logan Paul is going to be the puncher in there, but I did see some footage of Logan Paul working the pads, and the guy on the pads kept reminding him to turn his hand over to really twist into those shots, because that is how you get the power on the shot. And Logan Paul was continuously not doing that. So if he has not learned to do that, then there will not be much power in his shots, because the technique will not be there. It takes technique and skill to knock a fighter out. You cannot just go in there guns blazing and throw wild hooks, because it just doesn't work. So, no headguards and 10-ounce gloves. That means that neither fighter is going to want to be giving away any punches for free, because those punches that land will take an effect. Now, in the first fight, Logan Paul was coming over his front foot when he was throwing shots, and he was leaning over too much, which means that KSI would be able to counter. So if he does that too much and he walks onto a shot with 10-ounce gloves and no headguard, then he is going to get knocked out. And on the flip side, I noticed that KSI's feet were coming together. He was coming square. That means obviously his feet come together. They are side by side, which means he is not riding the shot. There is no sting taken out of the shot. He takes the full brunt of it. And I noticed he was doing that when he was rushing forward, when he believed he needed to win those last 3 rounds. But if he does that in this fight and he gets caught, then again, it's night-night. So both fighters have things they need to adjust. And I noticed that KSI was working on his defense a lot more, which is great because you do not want to take too many shots from those 10-ounce gloves with no headguard on. Now, what it is like for a boxer when they get hit and stunned is kind of like when you're in the playing field and you get hit with a football full blown to the head and you don't see it coming. It stuns you, and for a moment you don't know where you are, and your head kind of rings, it buzzes, and you don't know where you are for a few moments. It's like that, except there's a fighter in front of you who continues to throw punches. So maybe one of these guys, when that happens to them, they will panic and they will unravel. And I guarantee you, at one point, KSI or Logan Paul will find themselves in that position. And we don't know what will happen, we don't know what they will do, and how they will react. But guys, what are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you believe, the 10-ounce gloves and no headguards, will benefit more, KSI or Logan Paul? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, click the thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks guys.